Hi, I'm Sarah from luscombeandco, and I just want to address this one question that we've been having quite a bit from landlords. They're asking, should I buy, should I sell at the moment? Well, recent headlines have been showing that landlords are selling up, but is this true, and is this going to continue? So there are some landlords selling, but the fact is that landlords do sell every year. The reasons why landlords sell is some want to take advantage of the increased property value and they see their investment as a success. Others, they see the current situation, economic future a bit unstable, and they want to take their profits while they can, while the market is buoyant. Another reasons why landlords are selling, and they do every year, is increased legislation. They might be coming to retirement age and they want to sell up. Also, there's been increased tax recently. Also, the withdrawal of the mortgage interest rate as a taxable expense has hit some of the landlords. An additional 3% surcharge on second properties. And also the government have pledged with EPCs to change minimum from minimum standard to a C rating. So this does all come into play. But the reality is buy-to-let investment is an excellent investment. So why is buy-to-let a good investment? Well, landlords have been selling, but I've seen landlords simply switching their investments rather than exiting the market. Because of the pandemic, we've seen a change in people's lifestyle. They're rethinking where they're living. So they're moving from the cities and towns into the more rural areas. And then I've seen the landlords follow this trend, look at their portfolio, maybe cash in on a few flats they have and things like that, and buy larger properties in the locations that tenants want to live in. So I've seen a lot of that trend happening where landlords are rethinking their portfolio and not exiting the market. Also, keeping up with compliance and legislation is important, but the reality is it drives up standards, increases rents and increases profits to landlords. Also, investing a bit of capital in your property isn't a bad thing. Upgrading the MPC makes your property more attractive, increases rent and also fewer voids for landlords. And so standards are high at the moment. People who are renting are doing so from choice, not because they need to, because they can't afford to buy a property. It's because of choice and location. And people do want larger homes in rural areas because we don't want to maybe have the fear that if we do go into another lockdown, you're going to be stuck in a little flat somewhere and you can't get outdoors. And lots of people and tenants are thinking that these days. It is a thriving market at the moment with record-breaking registered numbers of tenants, really high demand, and also increasing rents at the moment. So if you are thinking of selling, you really need to consider a few factors and make sure that you have thought about this well. So what are the things you need to consider before selling and to take this decision? One of them might be capital gains tax. Now this can be very costly, maybe 18 to 28%, and this will come off the equity of property. So make sure you consider that. Also, selling a property is not cheap. It may be 1.5 to 2% plus VAT on top of the costs as well, and also the solicitor's fees and things like that. So make sure you take that into consideration. Selling a property as well, obviously an investment property is usually got a tenant in, and 90% of the people looking are only occupiers, so it means your property needs to be empty. So in that period, the sale period, then your property is not going to have any rental income coming in. Obviously you're still going to have to look after it, maintain it, pay any bills and things that come along. So also you need to consider that when you are looking at selling your investment property. Another factor to consider is the funds and when you release them. So once the funds are released and you've cashed in on your equity in your property, there's the next dilemma is to what to do with these funds, what to do with this cash, how you're going to make it earn some interest or where you're going to put it. Many landlords have been stung previously by other asset classes like stocks and shares. While there is a short-term gain, they can be a lot more volatile. Whereas property is a physical asset, is tangible, it's there, and it can be more stable. So that's another factor you need to consider. So if you are looking to sell now, it might seem like a big win and you might have a lot of equity and money in the property, but after taxes, fees and all the other costs, what are you going to do with the money? You might be left with a pile of cash, which seems great, but you need to make that cash earning in some interest, and you can't just leave it in the bank these days. A lot of landlords and even myself have sold some properties and then regretted it later, and it'd be sad that if you did regret it later and not consider all these factors, because if demand continues continues to grow like it is for rental properties, outpacing supply, then all these future gains could be lost in the future. And you might, really regret cashing in on your rental property now. So if you are still looking to sell your rental, really take a serious look at what your future will be like without it, Also, another factor is yields. Now, there aren't enough homes for renters these days, and those who are renting are not doing so because they can't afford to. It's because a lot of people can't find properties and had to turn into renters. So holding your property now could be a good return. As I say, demand is outpacing supply. That means the rents are increasing, and that also means the yields are getting better. And also, a landlord is a long-term investment. According to Alliance of Leicester, the average of a landlord is 18 years. So have you maximised this rental? Have you been in it long enough to get enough equity from the property? Have you squeezed the property enough? Being a landlord is a long-term game. So it's important that you do consider this, it's a major thing, because if you did sell the rental property and then you waited 12 months to get back onto the property market again, obviously the prices have increased. Then you've got to obviously find a new tenant. You've got all the costs of setting up. They've got the buying and selling costs. So to get out of the market and then only to regret it 12 months later and try get in is, you may as well have just lost all your equity in one go. So really consider, do you really need to sell this? What are you going to do with the money? And it is important to, when you're on your rental, have a rental property, to act in a professional way. Get the agents to help you. Make sure you are up to date with legislation. Make sure you're maximising the profits in your property. And if you're not doing that, please give us a call at the office. And we'll be able to help you look at your portfolio, look at your property, give it a review, and really help you to get through and navigate through these times. And also really to consider whether selling or not is a good choice for you.